Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything to everyone. My name is Joe Lurie. I am here to talk to you about Copilot Agentic Centered Endpoint Management, and I brought along Lavanya and Juanita to talk to you about the stuff that they're working on. Lavanya, I know, thank you so much for joining. I know you're kind of have like a head cold going on, so I'm not going to ask you to talk a lot, but I would love for you to introduce yourself, talk about some of the things you're working on. Juanita will go to you right after that. Lavanya, let's say hello.
Thank you, Joy. Hey everyone. I think a lot of you have seen me before. Super excited to be here. Just that I don't have the best of the voice. I'm not going to sing, I promise. Only I'm going to answer your questions. I'm a principal product manager on the Intune team, and I lead the Copilot efforts. And here with me, handing it over to Juanita, who will do an introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanita Baptiste. I am a product manager and work in Intune working on AI agents.
Great. It's so happy to see both of you. I've worked with both of you so much on a lot of these AMAs and just in our regular work. For those of you that are watching this on, between all the different platforms that we're showing this, you can ask your questions on Tech Community, aka.ms/AMA/agentic management. We do have our first question that came from Tech Community, and this is a licensing question, I think. But we are all engineers, so we'll do our best to answer the licensing questions. We have E5, which I'm assuming is Microsoft 365 E5, not just EMS E5. We'll go with Microsoft 365 E5 for all of our staff and want to know what licensing for this agentic features is needed. Will anything be included in the additional E5 features coming in Q3 this year? And Lavanya, because I heard the word principal in your name, I guess I have to come to you first.
Absolutely, and I think this should be a straightforward question. So again, with the assumption that E5 that's mentioned in the question, I'm assuming it's the M365 E5. And yes, M365 E5 accounts for all the AI capabilities within Intune. So that means it does account for all the agents that briefly Vanita will be touching upon depending on the other questions. But yes, agents are part of the ME5 bundle. Again, it is rolled out in phases, and tenants and the account managers will be notified along the process when their tenants will be activated with this AI capabilities during the course of this fiscal. Again, in terms of the additional E5 features coming in Q3, that is something that I would hold off on answering, because without knowing what that capability is, what the timeline is, it'll be inappropriate to answer at this point in time, Joey.
Thanks. I'm going to expand that a little bit because a lot of our viewers, our audience, they know that Copilot Intune is not just the agents, but also it requires those secure compute units in the background, the SCUs. Is that also included in the ME5, or or do they have to get those separately?
So essentially what we say when a tenant is part of the inclusion plan is for them to have the secure compute units provisioned automatically behind the scenes. And hopefully you're able to share one of the links that we were discussing about for our customers to be able to go read more offline. That essentially talks about how for every 1,000 seats, there will be about 400 SEUs provision, and it has all of those details. That's kind of how the work will be. And the idea is for it to be auto provisioned so that any new tenant doesn't need to go through multiple steps of starting to use the AI capabilities.
Thanks so much. And that link they're referring to, we have that on the screen, aka.ms/security copilot in E5. We'll give you all that licensing information and all those details that Lavanya was just talking about. Thanks so much for that answer. We have another question on Tech Community. I took over an existing CA setup. I'm assuming that's conditional access, set up a year ago. And although it worked, it's very dependent on static grouping. And I want something that can be easily scaled without relying on not missing adding someone to a group. Is this something Copilot can help with? And Juanita, I think they're talking about the conditional access agent in Copilot. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the conditional access optimization agent.
Thank you.
That already exists today in you can access it from both Intune and Entra. And so what that does is it kind of helps you identify those devices that should have conditional access policies assigned. And if they're not assigned, they'll say, hey, these 3 devices are missing this conditional access policies. Would you like to review and add them to the group? And then you should be able to do that. You can access the agent from Intune or Entra. So if you go into the endpoint security section within Intune, scroll down, you should see the conditional access tab there, and then the agent is there as well. And again, the agents are just making a suggestion. You should always kind of review the suggestion, make sure that it's accurate, and then you can go ahead and you can even chat with the agent as well, so that it can give you more context and feedback on why it is saying like, hey, suddenly there's an increase in fail sign-ins caused by this policy and what you need to do. So yes, Copilot can definitely help you with your conditional access policies.
I think it's a great point that you brought up, and thank you for that answer, Juanita. It's a great point that you brought up, is that Copilot and the conditional access optimization agent will make a recommendation. It's not going to automatically add a user to a group or a policy to a group or to a device. It'll make a recommendation. This new user just got added to your tenant. I recommend that they get added to this conditional access policy. That's true with everything in Copilot, right, Lavanya and
Yes.
Juanita? It's recommendations that it's adding. It's not actually doing the work for you, but recommending what you should do next, your next steps.
Yes. Perfect.
And for the next question, how do I discover all the Intune agents in my tenant? Even before we get to that, we do have something new in Intune. It might be in public preview, but it's called admin tasks. And so I'm going to ask Juanita, because you did say that it recommends that we do this. Will the conditional access optimization agent or any of the agents in Intune, will those recommendations show up in admin tasks? That's something that Angela Robertson, I believe, and Dave Randall were working on. Will that show up in admin tasks, or do I have to go to each agent and look for those recommendations?
So right now, it's not going to automatically show up in admin tasks. The reason why we didn't do it that way, and would love to hear customer feedback on this, is some of these agents can have a lot of suggestions, right? Think of that conditional access policy agent. That can have 10, 20, 30 recommendations and that's just one agent. So imagine you have 5, 6 agents in your tenant, and they're all giving 30 plus suggestions. That's a lot of suggestions, and we don't want the task view to become an inbox that people kind of ignore because there's just so much content in it. So for now, initially, the way that we have it planned, and it's going out in our device offboarding agent in the Intune 2601 release, where you can look at a suggestion and say, I do actually want to do this one, but I don't want to do it right now. We have an add to task button that will add it to the unified task menu that our cool team had just launched at Ignite. And you can add it there. You can assign it to a person. So if you're not the person that should do this task, you can say, hey, I'm going to assign this to Lavanya, and Lavanya will be able to see it in her task view. Again, we just did it that way because we don't think that all of the suggestions might need action from the admin, and we just didn't want to have an overwhelming task list when you come in. So we wanted it to be an intentional action.
That's awesome. And to get back to that other question, where do I discover all the Intune agents in my tenants? I know where some of them are, and I now know where I didn't realize the conditional access optimization agent was in the Intune admin center. I didn't realize that because it's not in the other location, but where can I find out what agents I have in my tenants?
Yeah, so the conditional access one is a little different because it's more of conditional access is more of an Entra function. And so if you go to agents in Entra, you'll see the conditional access one there, but you can also access it in Intune from the conditional access location. For all the other Intune, the primary Intune functionalities, there's an agents tab on the navigation menu, and you can see all of the agents that we have available there.
And internally, we call that the L1 in the Intune admin center. It's the very first blade, on the left-hand side, that first column, you would see the agents, and you can find the agents from there.
Yeah, and just to add a little more, Joey, right? Like what Juanita called out on the left nav is like the primary way to land into all the agents. The other way to think about it is somebody doesn't know where to even look for it. The other best option, for whatever reason, let's say you've landed on the homepage. On the homepage, we have something called as the banner, and it's right there at the top of the homepage, where we do give what we call as a learning card, which has a description of 2 to 3 lines of simple description of each of these agents, and it's like a carousel that kind of talks about new AI capabilities within Intune. And if, let's say, you are selecting the one of the agents, let's say the vulnerability remediation agent, and there is an option there which is called view details. And when you click on that, it actually directly navigates you to the vulnerability remediation agent actual workflow, right? So that's another way in which you can identify what agents or AI capabilities within Intune does exist.
Great. And I do, before all the phone lines light up about the Intune vulnerability remediation agent, I do want to mention, I think that's still in a limited public preview. So not every single tenant will see that one just yet. So I know Lavanya just used that as an example, but because it was used as an example, I do have to say that if you don't see the Intune vulnerability remediation agent or IVRA yet, you'll see it soon. It's coming.
Did I get myself into trouble with that?
I hope not. So I think
We
we're good.
didn't. It's publicly out there. It's in our docs, so that's totally fine.
Yeah, I think it's good. All right. So when we talk about Copilot Intune, we have a question that comes from X. Will Copilot Intune be able to explore client issues, detect trends or anomalies in the client logs? Lavanya, I'm going to go to you first because I know that was a place where you lived in earlier before Copilot even.
Yeah, so here is what I would say, because it's a very broad question, Joey. I'm going to narrow that down a little bit, right? Now, when we say client issues, the way I kind of associate that would be a given endpoint and some of the issues that's occurring on that endpoint, right? Today, we do have runtime heuristics or data that we do collect from devices, and that is available as part of our advanced analytics capability, which is what we call as the single device query, right? Where you will be able to query the different attributes associated with an endpoint and then leverage that, be it for the purpose of troubleshooting, be it for the purpose of identifying which group a given device belongs to. Now, kind of going one notch down, right? Like detect trends and anomalies in logs. There are multiple different ways I can interpret that question, right? Like one, if you are talking about anomalies in general that is affecting a cohort of devices, that is something that's already available as part of the advanced analytics anomaly detection capability, right? And I have to do this little bit of a plug where you would have seen that advanced analytics is now part of the E3 bundle as well. And this was an announcement that went back in December, and a lot of our customers are super excited about it alongside a few other capabilities, right? So that's that. But if we are talking about in general, for something to kind of go scan logs and come up with issues and what they are seeing as trends outside of what is available in anomaly detection capability, we do not. But one thing that I have been chatting very closely with Juanita and also with one of our other product managers, Ankur, is a troubleshooting agent of sorts, where the whole idea of that agent is to kind of go not just look at logs, right? Like look at the patterns in which we are able to see, yes, these are certain endpoints where they are having a particular issue, or they have like a similar characteristics, but then there is still a reason why a given endpoint could be out of compliance, right? So like, those are some of the things that we want to think through, and we are in the process of talking to a lot of our customers. So if any of you here on the call who is hearing us, if you do have feedback, please share it with us, where we are trying to see if we think about something like a troubleshooting agent, would it be helpful or not, is an assessment we are doing at this point in time.
I would say probably the best place to I wasn't going to go to Intune feedback this time. aka.ms/Intune feedback to give us that feedback. But I think our customer connection program, which has recently been rebranded to Security Advisors, I think that's a great place to go. If you're not a member of our, again, customer connection program just went through a rebranding. So if you're not a member of Security Advisors, I highly recommend joining. You can still get there from the old link, aka.ms/join CCP, or even aka.ms/security advisors/join. Thank you for adding that as well. So join the security advisors. Let us know your feedback on Copilot as you start using it. If there's any agents that you would like to see. And Lavanya, to expand on that last answer, even this may not be considered troubleshooting per se, but I can go into the Intune Admin Center and I can ask Copilot to compare two different devices, right? The apps or the policies are installed on two different devices. And so that's even the first step that you might do in a troubleshooting scenario where you're saying it didn't get this policy because maybe it wasn't targeted. Yes, these two devices are in the same department, but whatever, they have different things assigned to them.
Yeah, and it is not just in the side chat panel where, yes, the scenario that you spoke about is 100% app, but the other surface where you can ask more questions is also on the Explorer Blade, where you can go try and figure out the devices which is in a non-compliant state for a specific OS version or a given platform. And then you start identifying what those devices are. And if you eventually, as part of one of your remediation set, you want to add that to a given intra group so that you can apply a specific policy, all of those are options available to the admins today, right? It's not like a capability that doesn't exist in the product.
Great, thanks so much. We have a question that just came in to Tech Community. I have a free Intune trial tenant. I hope Juanita or Lavanya can answer this one. I have a free Intune trial tenant and a pay-as-you-go Azure tenant. To learn Copilot and Intune and agents, will I be charged? SCU Secure Compute Units, how many do I get for learning purposes in this instance? Juanita, I see you nodding your head, so hopefully you're the right one to answer this one.
Or I can also take this question,
Okay.
Anita, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things going on here, Joey, because it's a little more deeper, which is where I had promised Juanita that if she buys me coffee, I'll not pass on the hard questions to her. I'm just kidding. So the way to kind of think about this is trials is something that we have been on, right? Like where we do allocate 5 SEOs for them in a given hour, and then they can go try out the different capabilities. As part of the inclusion announcement, our focus has been primarily rolling out tenants with the MA5 inclusion plan. So whoever has been asking that question on the trial tenant, if they can offline confirm to us whether they are an MA5 customer or not, and if they are not an MA5 customer, what exactly is it that they are interested in trying out? That is something that definitely we can take as a feedback back to our platform team to try and see how we can enable. Because at this point in time, like one of my colleague here has confirmed, we have tentatively paused the trials because, like I said, all energy is on trying to get our tenants on the ME5. So if there is a specific use case where they would like to have the trial in their ecosystem, then we would like to work with them offline, more like a white glove support.
In the meantime, we do have a learn page on where you can get started to learn Security Copilot. So if y'all go to aka.ms/get started with Security Copilot in Intune, one long word, aka.ms, get started with Security Copilot in Intune to learn how to get started with Security Copilot in Intune. Juanita, I'm sorry, can I see your coffee mug? Because I just noticed that it says something kind of cool on it.
It says
yes, we have agents for that. Yes, I just wanted to see if I got that right. So it's a Security Copilot. I think, Lavanya, you started talking about single device query, multi-device query. Can we talk about those just for a second? We have about 5 minutes left, I think. Can you just talk a little bit about the difference between single device query, multiple device query, just because you mentioned them?
Sure. So the way to kind of think about this, as the name gives out, a single device query is more related to a given endpoint, right? Like where you want to go deeper into analyzing a given endpoint, troubleshoot a given endpoint, or try to identify what the policies are on an endpoint. It can be a variety of things that you would like to do on an endpoint, and
Mhm.
where we also collect runtime attributes from those devices. It is a limited set of attributes that we are collecting I don't like to use the word real time, near real time, because it's very misleading. It's almost, I would say, runtime, where we are collecting that statistics, which can help kind of admin go deeper into a given device. Multi-device query, as you can think about it, it is a fleet of devices, right? And the fleet of devices, one of the things that we are doing a real assessment is there a true need to do more like a runtime querying of the various attributes coming from this device, or based on the data that we already collect as part of our telemetry, is that good enough as we are working with a fleet of devices, is where they are slightly different in nature. Again, the purpose of multi-device query is much more than what you will essentially do with a single device query. That is kind of like a very
Mhm.
simple 10,000 feet level answer that I can provide, Joey, right?
Yep.
But then
I,
as we go into the nuances of what you want to do with multi-device query, are you going after the apps on those devices? Are you going after the policies on the devices, or the updates that you want to be part of a specific deployment plan? All of those will decide like the next level click down
mhm.
into the multi-device query capability.
That's great. That's a perfect answer. Thanks so much for that clarification. I think I have time for one more question to ask. Juanita, the agents that we're talking about, do they support EPM, Endpoint Privilege Management, or EAM, Enterprise App Management, the Copilot agents?
Right now, they do not. The only agent that kind of mirrors anything close to that is the change review agent that supports multi-admin approvals for scripts. So what it does is that anytime you get a request from multi-admin approval, it'll go through, that's a PowerShell script. It'll go through the agent. The agent will look at the script. It'll summarize the script for the approver to say, hey, here's what the script is doing. And it'll give a recommendation whether you should approve or reject the script based on some logic within the agent, identifying if it's like a destructive script. You can also upload your feedback on, like, what your org looks for in scripts, like how do you approve things, what are things to look out for, and the agent can take that feedback and apply it to your recommendations. So nothing for EPM right now. I can't say right now whether that's on the roadmap or not, but just multi-admin approval through the change review agent is what we have available today.
And to expand, the question itself was about the agent with EPM, but EPM does have Copilot embedded in it as well. So
Yes.
for a support approved EPM policy, imagine an agent who does those support approvals could have hundreds of those a day and not know what they are or if they're even safe to approve. Copilot can help reason that through Defender and other ways, look for any issues so that the agent can say with certainty whether it's safe to approve those. So even though it's not an agent, which was the question, it's still Copilot that's helping reason that with EPM.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that
it's
is what
summarized
we
with Copilot.
And that's what we call it as the embedded experience, where the risk score that we get from the Defender kind of helps admins make the assessment whether they want to approve the EPM request or deny the request, right? Again, those scores are something that an IT admin necessarily may not be a security expert, and which is where we kind of rely on the Defender's SME inputs along the approval process.
Mhm. That's great. This went by super fast. Typically, these are an hour long. This was 30 minutes long, so it was super fast. We have time for final thoughts. Juanita, I'm going to start with you, then go to Lavanya. Let's find a final thought on Copilot. Like, what do you see the value of using AI for admins in Intune? Juanita?
Yeah, so Intune admins, you're juggling a lot of data. It's device management. You've got policies everywhere. Users are doing everything with their devices on a daily basis. What I see for AI in the future for Intune admins is helping you correlate that data and making the right decisions, speeding up that troubleshooting time, letting you get to the answers a lot faster, pulling signals from different resources so that you're not having to check with the Defender folks, check with the Entra folks, check with Purview or whatever you're using. Just kind of pulling those signals together for you to get the full picture of what's going on in your estate. I feel like that's where AI capabilities can truly unlock, and embedding that into your workflow. So it's not like a separate experience that you have to go through. We do need to do a little bit better at, making sure those experiences are meeting you with where you're at. And that's where I see AI helping our Intune admins.
Thanks, Juanita. Lavanya?
This is always a question that kind of is close to my heart, because right from the beginning of the AI journey in Intune, I have been so deeply involved, and I have seen this evolve different ways, where we first thought, oh, we will solve everything with an open prompting experience, but then we realized the data is so much more critical. So as strong the grounding data is, kind of leads us in the direction of helping our customers, right? Which is where there has been so much of evolution in the AI journey within our product itself. Not everything needs to be AI bound. That means we don't need agentic AI, or we don't need a large language model to answer some of these questions. And in some scenarios, you necessarily do not even need to have an AI experience. So which is where, for me, first and foremost thought is use AI within the product where it matters the most, and it is either trying to bring you efficiency, or it is trying to bring in the optimization that you're looking for, or really kind of connecting the key data points and helping with the assessment. Those are some of the scenarios where AI can be more front and center, right? So which is where, for me, identifying those key surfaces and identifying the key workflows where AI can be helpful, be it in the form of assistive experiences or the agentic experiences. I think that is kind of the key. And again, this is not something like Juanita and I can sit in a closed room door, think and imagine and say, yes, this is where we should be doing it, right? It is something that we really can do in close partnership with our customers, understanding really what their workflow looks like, and seeing them live in action is where we have had tremendous amount of learning, which we bring back and then say, yeah, oh, this is what we saw with customer X. It makes sense to incorporate this in the workflow. So this is where AI can be helpful. So I think all of those things are key to how we think about the AI experiences within Intune.
That's great. Thanks so much. And thank you both. And I want a special thank you to all of you that have spent the last 3 hours with us, asking your questions, listening to our answers. The questions under each of these will be open until noon on Friday. That's US Pacific time. So make sure, if you're watching this, not live, but on demand, you can still ask your questions as long as it's till noon. This week, I don't even know what today's date is, the 26th maybe of January. So this week till Friday at noon Pacific time. And you can visit aka.ms/TCL/Intune to watch all these sessions on demand. I did notice a couple of you, Cheddar Chad, Hey 16K, Stefan, that have just been asking questions in all of the sessions. Thank you so much for your support. For the rest of you, I hope to see you in future TCLs, and thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.